In the headlines to the CBC NewsNight, Barbados' economy described as resilient, with strong performances in tourism and construction. AMR described as a silent pandemic. Youth leaders are being encouraged in the climate crisis fight.
Broadcasting from our studios in the Pine St. Michael, this is CBC NewsNight, starting now.
Good evening to you. This is the CBC NewsNight. I'm Wendy Burke. In the face of several challenges, Barbados' economy has remained resilient, continuing its recovery with strong performances in tourism and the construction sectors. That's according to Minister in the Ministry of Finance and Economic Affairs, Ryan Strawn, as he delivered a ministerial statement on the performance of the first half of the fiscal year 2024 to 2025 in the Lower House. He says the two sectors have driven economic growth and created employment opportunities. Minister Strawn says total revenue for the period amounted to $1.87 billion, exceeding the forecast of $1.66 billion by 12.5%.
This overperformance was driven by strong collections from net corporation tax receipts, which amounted to $384.49 million, exceeding the mid-year forecast of $237.3 million by $147.22 million. However, over the medium term, net income tax receipts declined by $3.75 million compared to the anticipated target for the current midpoint of the financial year. The revised forecast for total revenue for fiscal year 2024-25 now stands at $3.543 billion, reflecting the strong revenue performance in the first half of the fiscal year.
The revised forecast for total expenditure now stands at $3.78 billion. Total government expenditure for the first 6 months of the 2024 to 2025 fiscal year stood at $1.70 billion, below the forecasted $1.763 billion.
Delays in capital project execution drove the lower than expected expenditure performance. Wages and salaries, including National Insurance Scheme contributions, totaled $392.39 million, mainly in line with the mid-year target. The actual outturn included interest payments of $372.8 million, debt service costs of $6.3 million, principal repayments of $322.9 million, and sinking fund contributions of $15.7 million. Total expenditure was lower than projected, primarily due to slower uptake of domestic securities and redemption of savings bonds than projected.
Insight was also provided into Barbados' total public debt. Statistics provided by Minister Strawn showed as of September 30th, 2024, it stood at $14.87 billion, approximately 104.8% of the island's gross domestic product.
This is comprised of external debt of $5.6169 billion, domestic debt of $8.9833 billion, external guaranteed debt of $58.8 million, and central government arrears of $222 million. The government prioritizes debt servicing to ensure we remain in good standing with our creditors and maintain access to international financial markets.
The government's Business Barbados initiative is promising to reap significant economic and social benefits for the island while creating new job opportunities for Barbadians. That's according to Minister of State in the Ministry of Education, Technological and Vocational Training, Sandra Husbands. She says the establishment of the corporate body, which will coordinate and carry out functions in relation to specified corporate and intellectual property enactments in order to provide efficient, effective and timely service to users, will revolutionize how business is done in Barbados. She made the proclamation while opening debate on the Business Barbados Bill 2024 in the Lower House of Assembly.
Business Barbados is going to be critical in helping us to go the distance and to reach where it is we need to reach, because as we seek to attract people, as we try to interest them in coming to Barbados and setting up businesses, it is Business Barbados that will convert that into a reality.
Minister Husbands adds steps must be taken to allow Business Barbados, which she says is every Barbadian business, to become a reality.
We are told that a new space for Business Barbados to operate is going to be established, so that you have enough space for the additional staff that now have to be hired to ensure that we have sufficient service capacity to meet the needs not only of current, but you are preparing now that as we continue to pursue our investment strategy through our foreign affairs and foreign trade, Invest Barbados, going to investment conferences here and there, that when we are able to attract people, we have the capacity to service them so that we can convert the interest into real opportunity for Barbadians.
As Barbados prepares to celebrate 58 years of independence and 3 years of republic status, it is also in the process of honoring and celebrating the life and legacy of Shirley Chisholm. Joining us live to talk about the Shirley Chisholm project, celebrating Shirley 100 years, as well as independence activities, is Minister responsible for culture in the Prime Minister's office, Senator Dr. Chantel Monroe-Knight. Good evening to you.
Good evening, Wendy, and thanks so very much for having me this evening.
Pleasure to have you. Now, let's talk about the Shirley Chisholm project. This year is the centennial. I know of the Vauxhall Primary School being involved, but I understand that government has expanded the project to all schools.
Yes, we're having a number of activities to celebrate Shirley. Now, Shirley was born in the United States. But what people perhaps don't recognize is that she spent some formative years in Barbados. Her father was Guyanese, her mother was Barbadian, and her mother sent her back here specifically because she believed that Shirley would benefit from a Barbadian education and being brought up during those, like I said, formative years here. And actually, Shirley credits a lot of her achievements to those years that she spent in Barbados. So this girl, who was here, went to primary school here, then went on in 1968 in white America, and I say white America very deliberately. You could imagine at that time, in 1968 was the Vietnam War. That was also the year that you had the assassination of one of the biggest civil rights leaders, Martin Luther King, was assassinated. So you had an America that was in turmoil. Right? And then later that year as well, John F. Kennedy was also assassinated. And this woman, black woman, decided that she could step into American politics. And Shirley entered Congress and served not 1, not 2, not 3, but 7 terms. And celebrating her centennial as we celebrate independence brings those stories of resilience and self-confidence all together. And while some people may say, you know, we're doing the 2 things and no independence, but the 2 stories come together, like I said. That story that is about being able to overcome adversity. Shirley used to call herself Fighting Shirley. And she used to go through the streets and speak to people in neighborhoods. And it wasn't just for herself. Shirley campaigned around racial issues, but also gender and also education, as well for depressed communities.
And we're having the children depict that resilience.
Exactly, that resilience. So one of the activities that we have done, first of all, is a public call, a cultural and arts call. That was over a period of a month. It's now closed. We'll be judging that competition on December 6th. We have over 25 entries in the area of dance, essays, poems, and that's the general public. But also as well within the schools, we have a visual arts competition that is still ongoing. and that will close on December 6th as well. We've been engaging schools across Barbados, visiting schools, over 10 schools, including the Shirley Chisholm School, formerly Vauxhall Primary School. I also want to note as well that we just last Saturday had a genealogy workshop. We had an exhibition that will go to Parliament on Saturday, and then it will return to the Archives Department and be there until December 1st, so people can feel free, December 6th, so people can feel free to go and visit that exhibition as well. We will also have some giveaways, and people come to the Independence Parade on Saturday, and also as well the Prime Minister's Cup. And of course, it's a very important moment. We will have visiting members of the Congressional Black Caucus that will be here celebrating with us as well.
So we have a lot going on
Absolutely.
in the name of Shirley Chisholm. So that means that we should not only come to the Independence Parade, but also to the football finals.
Absolutely,
yes.
Absolutely. All part of a big independence. And then don't forget, before we get there on the 28th, we will have the Independence Concert that will be held where would that be held? Golden Square. And also as well, especially important, we will be unveiling the Marcus Garvey Amphitheatre in Queen's Park as well. Another space for creatives to be able, to expose their talents and for Barbadians to enjoy as well. So lots happening over this period, and we really want to, like I said, lift up that spirit that Shirley Chisholm has set as an example for all of us.
Well, we will have our cheer just like Shirley had hers. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
Senator Dr. Chantel Monroe-Knight.
Thank you so very much for having me as well.
Coming up, a rise in heart attacks is putting great stress on hospital resources. The Queen Elizabeth Hospital's cardiac unit is under tremendous pressure, battling a cardiovascular crisis. Head of Cardiac Services at QEH, consultant cardiologist Dr. Dawn Scantlebury, says some days this month the unit has dealt with at least 3 serious heart attacks per day. She delivered these startling statistics on CBC's Pulse radio show.
2 to 3 a day sometimes. So we have the Barbados National Registry, and that in 2020 or 2021, the last set of data we had 547 myocardial infarctions. It's probably 150 to 200 STEMIs, which are the big ones. So there'll be some weeks you'll have nothing, and then some weeks you'll have a couple, and then some weeks you have a lot. But this never used to happen. When I was an internal medicine resident, if I had a STEMI, I would have a STEMI like every few calls. That's every 4 days. Now it is a lot. My last on-call, we had 8 heart failure admissions, and in 1 day.
Dr. Scantlebury says QEH now has 4 adult and 1 pediatric cardiologist on staff to deal with the exponential rise, which is outpacing the hospital's resources.
So what happens is that you have this backup. It's a backup in the clinic, you have the backup of testing, the backup of diagnostics. Waiting lists have lengthened. It's an 8-month waiting list for an echocardiogram, another 4 months for a stress test, another a couple of months for Holter. So all of these different tests that we do that really and truly, some of them should be urgent, but there's nothing called urgent when there are 100 people waiting for a very small proportion of the slots.
A silent pandemic. That's how antimicrobial resistance, AMR, is increasingly being described. Director of Clinical and Diagnostic Services at the Queen Elizabeth Hospital, Dr. the Most Honourable Corey Ford, says the full scale of the threat is often underestimated despite the rising global death toll.
If we do nothing globally in terms of antimicrobial resistance, by 2050, it is expected that this will become the most common cause of death, far exceeding cardiovascular disease, NCD-related issues. If we do nothing, there's a very end. Why are we concerned? Why is this event a general problem for the average Barbadian sitting in their house today? Many moons ago, antibiotics were found, and they would have acted against bugs. Now we're seeing the same antibiotics that were used in the 1950s being no longer effective as they would have been previously. And this is a major, major issue. It means that there are people across the globe who are come in with infections, and the doctors will struggle to find the right antibiotics against them.
Dr. Ford says there's a growing concern of sexually transmitted infections becoming resistant to treatment, even right here in Barbados.
And there is known resistance to HIV. People don't respond in the way that you would expect them to respond sometimes. And then in terms of gonorrhea, which people, because it's something that's treatable, people don't spend a lot of time thinking. There's a lot of information out there in that. If you look back in the 1920s, 1930s, 1940s, 2000s, you will see a trend in terms of things like gonorrhea. There's greater resistance, and something that we've seen certainly here within Barbados as well.
You can watch more of this one-on-one interview with Dr. Corey Ford tonight at 8:03 p.m. on In the Know with Crystal Hoy. Effective December 2nd, all manufacturers of registration number plates will be required to register annually with the Barbados Licensing Authority. This is according to a recent amendment to Section 10B of the Road Traffic Act, Cap 295. And Acting Chief Licensing Officer Traker McCarthy-Broom says from Monday, the BLA will also begin accepting applications from existing vehicle registration plate manufacturers and new businesses interested in becoming plate manufacturers. The cost to register is $500 with an annual renewal fee of $250 once approved.
Under the updated legislation, all owners of vehicles must purchase registration plates exclusively from certified plate manufacturers. Current and prospective plate manufacturers can complete application forms from the Licensing Authority's website at bla.gov.bb/forms. This new system aims to standardize the manufacturing and issuance of vehicle registration plates while ensuring compliance with regulations.
The climate crisis remains a burning issue for those in small island developing states. And Minister of Labour Colin Jordan is encouraging youth leaders to do their part as those within the Global South champion the cause for climate justice. He was speaking at the opening ceremony of a 3-day international youth leadership training promoting South-South cooperation. Minister Jordan says although developing states asked for $1 trillion at the recently concluded COP29 and were given $300 billion, less than a third of what was asked for, he says we should not give up the fight.
The recent discussions at COP were an attempt, and all the COP, the few COPs before that, were an attempt to inject a level of justice into the conversation. To say that we are not responsible for what we are suffering, you caused it, so help us to fix it. And help us to fix it not just for ourselves, but help us to fix it for all of us, because all of us are being impacted.
Minister Jordan says the world is not on a sustainable trajectory, and so the Barbados government has taken note of the injustices and created some solutions, including the Bridge Down Initiative, among others. And he says the Global South needs to keep the fight up.
This matter is existential, and it is existential not just for the Global South, but one day the Global North will wake up and recognize that this matter of the climate crisis is also existential for the Global North. They have not yet seen it, but it is your responsibility, it is our responsibility to keep educating them.
Time now to say good evening to Anne-Marie Burke and what's new in sports.
Well, good evening to you, Wendy. I'll start with good news from the West Indies as they only need a draw in the second test in order to take the test series against Bangladesh. After winning the first test in the first session of the fifth day at the Viv Richards Stadium in Antigua today, Bangladesh resumed their second innings on 109 for 7, chasing 334 for victory, and were dismissed for 132 as the Windies won by 201 runs. Alzari Joseph accounted for 2 of the 3 wickets to fall this morning to end with 2 for 32, while Kemar Roach finished with his overnight figures of 3 for 20 and Jaden Seals 3 for 45. Scores in the match: the West Indies 450 for 9 declared and 152. Bangladesh 269 for 9 declared and 132. Justin Graves was the player of the match for his first innings century. The result lifted the West Indies to 8th place in the ICC World Test Championship table. They were at the bottom in 9th place behind Bangladesh, and while the result still has them 1 point behind, 32 to 33, the Windies now have a superior winning percentage of 26.67 to Bangladesh's 25%. The second and final test begins in Jamaica on Saturday. We take a quick break here and return with primary schools cricket. And welcome back. Amazing Deals Wesley Hall cruised into the finals of the 2024 City of Bridgetown Cooperative Credit Union Limited Herman Griffith Primary Schools Cricket Competition after they beat St. Gabriel's by 7 wickets in semi-final number 1 today. Sent to bat at Layers, St. Gabriel's posted 104 all-out in 22.5 overs, led by Oliver King, who scored an unbeaten 58. Tyre Harper took 4 for 9 and Samuel Harry 4 for 20, and they were the main destroyers for Wesley Hall. CBC's Damien Best was there for that innings.
St. Gabriel sent into bat by Wesley Hall, and straight away opener Oliver King looks dangerous, starts with a boundary of Samuel Harry. But Harry would redeem himself, getting the early breakthrough, removing Jasper King LBW for a duck. All the action happening from the pavilion end. Harry too full and helped down behind square by King at 4 more. But Harry had the formula. The new batter, Liam Clark, getting one to nip back, and the umpire's index finger automatic. Gone LBW for just 1. The third wicket to fall was that of Liam Gamble, attempting to slog this one over the leg side fielders, and it's cleaned up by Jaden Roll for a golden duck. All the pressure was on the shoulders of King, and he kept that laser focus. Another bad ball punished. Change of bowler from the pavilion end. Tyre Harper had Ira Springer nicked off and caught at gully for 5. More trouble in the camp. Before you knew it, St. Gabriel's were 6 wickets down for 46 runs. Jaheim Harris stumped for 2, 11 overs in the book. At this stage, King was encouraged from the sidelines to take more of the strike, and he set about the mission. Goes aerial down the ground, moves into the 30s. His numbers were incremented by some sloppy fielding, 8 runs in the over so far. All the highlights belong to King and the bowlers. He finds the gap through the point region, then clears mid-off, showing off his strength into the 40s now. And Wesley Hall would place King on the red carpet to a half-century. More errors in the field. Their only reprieve was when King was at the non-striker's end. Reece Shields out-caught for a duck. Then Brian Armstrong removed without troubling the scores, giving Harper a second in the over, 96 for 9. St. Gabriel's on the brink, but not before King recorded a well-deserved half-century. So good at finding the gaps. Excellent knock, 100 on the board now. Not long after that, St. Gabriel's will close their innings on 104 all-out. Ethan Drayton, the last to go, bowled for 2 by Harry, as he and Harper finish with 4 scalps. King left not out on 58. Damien Best, CBC Sports.
In reply, Wesley Hall reached 105 for 3 in 20.2 overs. Extras led the way, contributing 58 runs to the total, while Harry returned to top score with 38. King had 2 for 21. Wendy, that's my first look at sports. On return, I have volleyball coming your way.
Okay, we do look forward to that. Up next on CBC's Newsnight, the Business Report. In tonight's business report, a passion for dogs and entrepreneurship paved the way for the business venture Sustainable Kennels, now affectionately called Sus Kennels. It was started with wooden pallets, and on tonight's Yes Business Report, Trevor Thorpe learns of the origins of the young company from owner and manager Josiah Maximilian.
The canine enthusiast tells the Yes Business Report a kennel should be in harmony with the property where it's located. And Josiah Maximilian is adamant that a kennel is more than just a doghouse. That's why at Sus Kennels, a meeting with the customer is a preferred occasion. He says they cater to animals from Jack Russells to German Shepherds.
Typically, it's better to I prefer to sit with the client or customer and say, well, check the vegetation in the area, wind direction, whether you want to be able to wash down the kennel, if you want a slotted floor, if you want a solid floor. Well, all our kennels are insulated roofs, so that would be optional. It will come insulated, but just to make sure it's a perfect fit for the person. If the dog is a chewer, because some dogs like to chew the wood, so it will have metal doors, bite guards. Depending on small things, whether it's a patio, it's a step up, it's a deck, little things, feeders that will make the kennel fit the customer's needs.
Mr. Maximilian says a number of ideas were on his mind and recalled how Sus Kennels was started.
I registered the business name in 2017. In fact, before then, when I was wrapping up my undergrad degree, I always had a passion for entrepreneurship, and I was looking at initiatives to start, saying I could still tie it as an engineering initiative, but saying that still it's with my passion would work. So looking at my resources, what I had the idea of the dog houses, and I got 3-4 sketches of designs I wanted to start with, and that was it. I registered it as a business name. I started with pallet wood because that was readily available material. It was a more affordable option. Fast forward 7 years.
He admits Sus Kennels is in a busy market, but it is holding its own under the conditions as a result of the teachings he received from the Youth Entrepreneurship Scheme. He says they pointed him in the right direction and are the reasons behind the origins of Sus Kennels.
I've benefited greatly from the counseling, from the officers there. Sherry Ann Jordan was mine in particular. They've sponsored me to go BMETs, the youth fair, other expos where I could show my stuff. That really helped in terms of brand promotion and just putting myself out there. Then, of course, there was what I actually learned within the Youth Entrepreneurship Scheme, market research, brand awareness, and just financial feasibilities of the product. Things that I didn't do principle of business or principle of accounts. So it was all new stuff to me at the time, and I think it was very timely and helped me make a strong start, and I was also able to focus my efforts in the right direction, I think.
Sus Kennels is located at Mylord Hill, St. Michael, and Mr. Maximilian says a roadmap is in place for the way forward, and he will be meeting soon with industry stakeholders to look at the export market. Trevor Thorpe.
A strategy connected to hubs. That's how Minister of Tourism and International Business Ian Gooding-Edgell described the upcoming 2024 winter tourist season. He said Barbados is a preferred destination, and he's encouraged by what has been put in place.
As part of the airline strategy, what we've been able to do is to connect the strategy to hubs. So what you see happening in Philadelphia, what you see happening in John F. Kennedy Airport, what you see happening out of Atlanta. So we're building around our airlift strategy around the hubs that we have. The challenge, not the challenge, the opportunity for us building it around a hub is for us to continually increase the arrivals into Barbados. And based on what I'm seeing, I'm very encouraged with the results, and I believe that Barbados will have a very good winter season.
That's business. We'll take a break and be back with the weather. And we say good evening to Carrie-Ann O'Neill. Carrie-Ann, what are we going to be having tonight? Some showers, or is it going to just be a peaceful and cool night?
Well, Wendy, a trough system is approaching the island. As a result, we are expecting some showers later on tonight. Good evening to you and good evening, everyone. Today in Barbados, the ridge pattern was our dominant feature. We had fair to partly cloudy skies along with just a few brief showers. Now, the winds across the region, they are light to moderate. They're peaking at 20 knots. Afternoon showers and thunderstorms prevailed across the Guianas. The maximum temperature today was 30 degrees Celsius, the minimum 27 degrees. At present, the temperature stands at 27 degrees Celsius. The relative humidity 75%. The winds, they're coming in from the east-southeast. We take a look now at some atmospheric conditions across the region, where those temperatures are ranging from 24 to 28 degrees Celsius. The humidity shows moisture is building across the southern islands, and the winds, they're generally light to moderate across the region. We take a look now at our satellite feed, where the ridge pattern maintained fair to partly cloudy skies along with just a few showers. We had 0.8 millimeters of rainfall. We do have a trough system, though, moving towards the area. As a result, tonight we can expect clear skies at first, becoming increasingly cloudy along with some showers mainly after midnight. Meanwhile, the winds across the region, they are light to moderate, peaking at 20 knots. Those seas moderate in open water with swells peaking at 2.5 meters. We are urging small craft operators as well as sea bathers to exercise caution. Now, further south, afternoon showers and thunderstorms prevailed across the Guianas. Over now in the Western Caribbean, fair skies prevailed across Puerto Rico. Elsewhere had unstable weather conditions. Well, that's our first look at the weather. After the break, we'll have the forecast. Welcome back. In the forecast for tomorrow, the sun is expected to rise at 3 minutes after 6 and will set at 5:29. Now, the first high tide, that's expected at 1:26 in the early morning. The first low at 5 minutes after 7 in the morning. Those seas are moderate in open water with swells peaking at 2.5 meters. We are urging small craft operators as well as sea bathers to exercise caution. Now, those winds are coming in from the east to the east-southeast at 30 kilometers per hour. For us here in Barbados tonight, we can expect clear skies at first, becoming increasingly cloudy along with showers mainly after midnight, as a trough system will be impacting the island. And over the next 3 days, the trough system will maintain some showers. That's Wednesday and Thursday. Thereafter, we are expecting an improvement in weather conditions.
It's time for the second half of Sports with Anne-Marie Burke. You promised us some volleyball, but I realized that we're going to be galloping.
Yes, we will start with horse racing first, as Barbadian horse trainer Safi Joseph Jr. continued his dominant form at Gulfstream Park in Florida when he captured his 11th consecutive training title. The 37-year-old Joseph has extended his streak of training titles with 39 winners for the season, anchored by Breeders' Cup champions Soul of an Angel and White Abario, who made a successful return to the races this past weekend. The St. Michael's School and Les Savon are through to the second round of the Senior Girls Barbados Secondary Schools volleyball knockout competition. Les Savon came from a set down to defeat Dighton Griffith 21-25, 25-23, 15-16. Then SMS tasted victory over Queen's College in straight sets. Let's take a look at that game. We're in Martindale's Road, where the girls from Husbands Queen's College have the server up against home side St. Michael's School. And how about an ace to get things going? That's there Ford Haynes. Ford Haynes continues with the service duties, but this time it's picked up nicely on the other side of the net. And here the SMS girls go for the kill, but the QC wall was rock solid. QC with early dibs on this encounter. Will they make it 3 in a row? Let's see how it plays out. SMS in control and then gifts a free ball. QC back in the playmaking realm, but that kill is nicely saved by libero Aaliyah Thompson. who was backed up by keeping the ball in play. But just when QC thought they would sew it up, nope, at the net is Serena Yura to deliver the rejection, and SMS is on the scoreboard. Sienna Hall now to get the ball rolling, and it's controlled nicely. Could this be a point coming here? Oh no, saved and play continues. SMS now getting things in order. Selena King Ward returned, and it drops into backcourt. We have a game on our hands. And with both teams going point for point in the early stages, the SMS girls then started to create some distance in the scores. This was one of the longer rallies. QC fighting to keep things going before passing off to SMS, who was setting up for Shakira Oliver to spike it cross court. QC though still in there, and where SMS slapped, they capitalized. Gianna Carter was QC's executor there. But the girls from SMS did all they had to take the first set. A good save, and with this free ball, the girls from Husbands just couldn't get it together. It's into the net, and the SMS girls take the first set at 25-15. So all they needed to do is close out the second, but QC were not going down that easy. Forward Haynes with a nice cheeky dink. But you sure bet the very next play SMS would gain revenge. And it was Hall who comes through with purpose, power, and intent. Hall again on the serve. QC sets up, and the free ball almost bore fruit, but Hall went low for the dig, and then backed it up with a power spike. SMS in control at this stage. Natania Stout then came to the party with this ace, as victory for the Cougar girls was in sight. Set and game point. And it was handed to the girls from Martindale's Road on a platter as they took the final set at 25-17 and the two-set win over Queens College. Wendy, that's it for sports. So back over to you.
Thank you so much, Anne-Marie. We'll return after the break. Thanks for viewing, and enjoy the rest of your evening.